Welcome to the Brick and Butter Zone. I'm your host, Case Erickson, here to talk to restaurateurs who reveal their secret recipes for success. You will be encouraged, equipped, and inspired to take your business to the next level. It's like butter, baby. Butter! So buckle up and get in the zone.
All right, I am here with the beautiful and lovely, talented, intelligent, passionate, inspirational Leanne Valenti of Bento Picnic. Leanne, how are you today?
Doing great. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yes, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. You've just been open, I want to say 10 weeks? Is that right? 10
barely.
weeks?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so you've got some great, you're just like right at the top of the wave, or I don't know where at the wave you're at, but we're going to kind of dig into that and figure out kind of where you are in the space and the journey, and our intention is to create the space for people to be of service as well as be inspired. So that is what I call the Brick and Butter Zone. So are you ready to get in the zone?
I'm ready.
All right. Well, tell me, first of all, you've only been open for, a short amount of time. What were you doing before?
So I've been in business for 3 years with Bento Picnic, and I started out just doing catering. And so we've been open for about 10 weeks now in our brick and mortar over on East Cesar Chavez, but it doesn't feel as crazy as maybe it would if I were 10 weeks into a brand new brick and mortar, because we actually converted our old commissary into a brick and mortar. So we were able to stay put. We just converted this front space that we're sitting in right now into a shop. It used to be used as an office by the former owner of the commissary.
Oh, okay. All right.
So it was lucky. But, it was luck that we created. It was, an idea that I've had since I started renting space in this commissary 3 years ago of, man, if we ever had the chance, we could do something really cool with this space. And so I've always sort of entertained that idea and sort of visualized what that could be. And I've heard, like, along the way that you do create luck. That's what I was that's what was coming up for me, like the phrase that you said, created luck. I love that, because Les Brown, he's a motivational speaker. Yeah. He says luck is where preparation meets opportunity. Right.
And really there's no such thing as luck. So tell me more about that, like creating luck.
Man, you know what? So I was listening to an interview with the creator of Zappos. And it's one of the questions he asks in interviews is, do you consider yourself a lucky person? Anyone applying anywhere in his company, he asks them, do you consider yourself lucky? And there's a reason why, is that in a study done of people who ask if they consider themselves lucky, and then they go into basically this, they have to complete a test where they're asked to read something that just seems like a really boring test and find how many ampersands there are in this paper.
All right.
The people, by and large, who consider themselves lucky realize that all the way on the back page of the paper, it says there's 37 ampersands. Go ahead and let the person conducting the test know that you saw this, and they'll give you a cash reward. Oh. And so there's this idea that if you're looking and not just kind of following the beaten path and doing what you're asked to do or what you're told to do, that if you're looking around and sort of aware of opportunities or what someone might not be blatantly obvious, that there's kind of luck there waiting for you to discover.
So had you always, what I hear in that is just being open and keeping your eyes open, and a lot of the times people, it's kind of, it's the mindset that generates our reality. So if someone is stuck in the, life is hard, everybody's out to get me, chip on my shoulder or whatever, like that's what they're going to continue to manifest and experience and, validate your own truth. Like we will always validate our own truth. So had you always related to yourself as someone who was open to opportunities and seeing opportunities and having that mindset, or?
Yeah, I do think it's something intrinsic in me and something that my dad, who's also an entrepreneur, really instilled. But I do also think that it's more about curiosity.
Okay.
And sort of a very active imagination
Mm-hmm.
rather than just like straight up opportunistic. Like I'm just like how I even got into Bento Picnic, which is a concept that is designed to basically make sure that no one ever has a sad desk lunch again. That
I like it.
These bento boxes are designed with kind of the traditional Japanese framework of using 5 colors, 5 tastes, and 5 cooking techniques in every box. And so you're getting a ton of nutrition and variety and all the colors and flavors coming together. And using really quality ingredients and making it super easy for people to access. You know, we have them grab and go, or you can get it made to order. We'll have it ready in 5 minutes. And we'll deliver them, you know, within a 50-mile radius.
Okay.
You know, doing catering and on-demand delivery. So making good food that's good for you, it's good for the environment, and it's really easy to get is like what drives me is that I want to connect people with something that is of value.
Yes.
And it's something that I sort of discovered because I'm a very curious person. Through basically a really good friendship. I was introduced to the idea of one of my best friends is from south of Tokyo. And we lived together, and she taught me this way of cooking, and I just really took to it because I've always been like interested in being healthy myself, but also being able to cook for people in a healthy way that is also really enjoyable. You know, I don't want it to be something that someone has to suffer through.
Right, yeah.
You know, good health should be enjoyed.
Yeah.
And so it's something that curiosity has led me further and further down this rabbit hole, you might say. And some may look at my life and be like, you're not lucky at all. You just signed up for a boatload of work.
Yeah.
But to me, it feels like luck.
Yes.
Because it's something that I'm curious about and that I'm just continuing to further with each, you know, day and each year to see where it leads.
So you spent time in Tokyo, is that what you said?
Just south of Tokyo, yeah.
Oh, okay. How long were you there?
Half a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you got inspired where, I mean, this concept you don't necessarily see in America too, or certainly not in Austin. You don't see this kind of grab and go and this what you're doing, bento boxes. Is that something that's just everywhere there, or?
It's there's bento kiosks in every train station and city center.
Wow.
So they're just as busy as we are, but it's a lot easier for them to eat balanced meals and healthy meals. Not necessarily, there's not as much over there. You see a category of health food because everything is just like balanced, and in general, you know, like the idea, for example, behind using 5 different cooking techniques in each meal is that you're not going to sit down to a plate of just fried food.
Right.
You know,
okay.
you balance out things that are steamed and pickled and, you know, sautéed with things that are fried and baked so that you get, you know, a balance of those different techniques.
You know, what were you doing before that led you? Had you always been in the food industry, or what led to the
no, that's a great
catering?
question. Yeah, because I'm like a really curious person, right? I actually, right out of college, found an opportunity to get a grad degree that was paid for through AmeriCorps by doing running an after-school program, basically, and getting a master's in education at the same time.
Okay.
And I thought, this sounds really interesting and really creative. You're basically like working each semester to create new curriculum around different professionals who come in and want to teach, say, for example, lawyers came in and taught a peer mediation apprenticeship, and then we created a peer mediation program for the school. And it's the idea that like these students who are all middle school age are getting to attain real world skills and then offer something of value to their community. Side story, that's also where I met my boyfriend Ricardo. He came in and taught an apprenticeship there. It was like 8 or 9 years ago that we met. And we weren't like same story. It's not that something happened with it right away, but about 5 years ago we ended up, you know, after having been friends for a while, getting together. So it's like these things kind of manifest for me, not immediately, but like over the long term, I see things that I'm curious about come to fruition.
I want to take a little sidebar into that.
Yeah.
Because I am, I'm very passionate about just balancing like work-life balance and, not sacrificing relationships and having quality communication and all that stuff and, really having it all. Right.
Sure.
And I mean, I know like to a certain degree that's, I don't know if that's like naivete or whatever, but, for people who are out there looking at, really either manifesting a relationship or maintaining or having, because, I know your boyfriend a little bit as well, and he's an amazing person and just up to amazing things. And you guys are both just like, it's like amazing overload, And so tell me about that, like slow, that process. Cause I think a lot of the times, myself included, I like to just be like, wham, bam, thank you, man. Like I want all the fireworks and stuff, you know what I mean? And then that's my sign, and I know that it's, can also be, a slow ember to build a fire as well. Totally. So is there anything inside your relationship journey that you'd like to share that has been supportive for you in creating this business?
100%. Yeah. So he is, and for that matter, everyone in my peer group are folks who are all up to things that are hard and all up to things that take real effort and energy and that are coming from a place of like deep down inside them. Like I'm working to create something that I have a real passion for, and so is he. He gets it, and we're on this journey together. And there's definitely like we have to communicate and over communicate because we, in order to spend any time with each other, our schedules have to align. Which is not impossible, and it's actually become way easier for that to happen since I have this brick and mortar space. Interestingly, because I used to just be in a back kitchen where no one could really find me. But my boyfriend included and all my friends, like they know where to find me now. And
stalk you.
As long as you're not right in the middle of the lunch rush, like there's quality time there to be spent. So I think work-life balance is a tricky thing, and it's continual. It's day by day. I mean, like I have my planner on my desk always. Yes. And I'm very much a person who, like, unless I have this finite amount of space that I can write what it is I'm doing today, I will try to go to the moon and back in 24 hours, I have to reel myself in and really consider, and Ricardo's really good about helping me with that, of like that time management. Okay. It's a strength of his.
I need one of those.
Yeah, I know.
What is today? Today's Wednesday. I'm working on Sunday's list. I'm working on Sunday's list right now.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
But to get back to it, is I finished the AmeriCorps program that I was doing, the after-school program, and I thought to myself, I love teaching and I love leading, and these are two skill sets that I've learned through going through this program and running this after-school program. But what do I want to teach and lead about? I want to learn something. I want to just throw myself into something that ultimately I can know enough about that I can become a teacher at it. And the best teachers I've ever had have these crazy life experiences to draw from and these stories to tell. Yeah. So for me, like all through, like since I was a teenager, any free time that I had, I was pouring through a cookbook, or I was, trying to make something vegetarian or vegan or a healthier version of it. I've always been really sort of health-minded or fitness-minded, and always looking for ways to take care of myself and other people better. And so I have found a program that doesn't actually exist anymore, but it was called the Natural Epicurean. It's a culinary school, and the year that I decided, I was still working at the after-school program. I was actually the director of it that year, and I got a raise to stay on and direct it. And that raise equaled the tuition of the Natural Epicurean. And so I was like, this is a sign. I'm going to go to this school in the evenings and just kind of further my understanding of healthy cooking and healthy living and see where it takes me.
Okay.
And it took me to Japan and back ultimately because after I finished the program, then I did a half-year homestay south of Tokyo.
Oh.
And really, I was staying with the family of a good friend of mine who they are the town bakers. And so I was part of their routine, both like in the commercial bakery that is on their property, but also their day-to-day cooking of breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Wow.
So they have 3 seated meals a day, and all of them require a good bit of effort. But, gosh, my host mom just made it look all so easy. Like, she is so skilled and, like, beyond talented, but it's really just something that wasn't ever lost in the way that I think that it was kind of lost, at least in my family. Like, most of the time it was boxed, SpaghettiOs or boxed dinners.
Right.
And so it was something to me that I was really drawn toward because I saw that this is something that I want to bring back and have a renaissance around in my own life, in my own family, of really like having finesse with ingredients, knowing what to do with what's growing in our garden, and being able to cook, kind of farm to table, day to day.
Yeah.
So I learned so much from the Atsusakas, my host family.
Okay.
And upon coming back to Austin, did kind of a number of different things. Also, again, just being really curious. I worked at Whole Foods for a spell in their culinary center and helping kind of just getting some, like being a teacher's aide basically to some courses that they were launching at the time for like training their internal team on healthier cooking styles.
Nice.
Yeah, that was amazing. I was an assistant to Derek and Chad Sarno, who are up to amazing things. They just released their first cookbook.
Nice.
That is like their solo venture called Wicked Healthy. And that is a beautiful cookbook. I'm really excited to see them kind of taking the stage with that. I returned to the Natural Epicurean to work there and helped launch internship programs. Like, I think I increased their internship programs by like 20 times what they were when I was there as a student. Just basically going around and making introductions between different restaurants and food establishments in the school. I worked at for about 2 years at a company called To Dine For, which is a catering company, and I helped run a supper club on site.
Okay.
And I worked at Sway, the Thai restaurant on South First. I was on the line there.
Okay.
I worked for a spell in St. Louis, randomly at a French restaurant.
Okay.
When I was up there helping some family. And it was actually, I turned 30 there. And I was like, you know what? And I was working at this French restaurant, which for the first time was not necessarily like a health-focused environment. It was the first time I was cooking and it wasn't toward better health. There was butter in everything.
Yes.
And I was, for the first time in my life, about to have to buy all new jeans. Like, I was outgrowing my jeans.
Okay.
I know. Like, this way.
My restaurants were fried. I did fried, but this was 40 pounds ago. I had 40 extra pounds on me. So, I'm familiar.
Yeah.
I'm familiar.
Yeah. So long story short, I don't know if it's actually short. I'm telling a long-winded story here.
It's good. Journey.
But I turned 30.
Yeah.
And I was feeling my health being compromised by the food I was cooking.
Okay.
And I wanted to get back to cooking really healthy food. And I'd been carrying around this idea for Bento since returning from Japan, which is now like 5 or 6 years past.
Right.
And so this idea continued to kind of bubble inside me. And my family, who I was feeding with Bento all along, because this had become sort of a new routine for me personally. I would make sure that my friend, who's a night shift nurse, had bento to carry her through the night, or make sure my dad had something to take with him, and he's doing Whole30, and so we had to. There was a ton of R&D and sort of recipe development that happened sort of behind the scenes, just for my own friends and family, and so they saw that there was this spark in me and still this drive to do something, and so it was a family loan that I was able to get started with.
Gotcha.
To basically turn this idea into something that could be available to the public. But of course, I mean, it wasn't enough capital to go out and find a property and make a restaurant right away.
Right.
And so I started pretty lean and just put it out there as a catering option to office managers and event planners who I knew. And 3 months into it, I got an order for 600.
Wow.
And I've continued to position myself offering catering. If you're looking for a box lunch service that's not a sandwich and chips.
Right.
If you're looking for something that's local and unique and fresh.
Yeah.
That can cater to gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan, vegetarian, and even more specific Whole30 type diets, then, and I tell you what, there's no meeting, even for 20 people, that happens in Austin where there's not at least one gluten-free person and one vegan person.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and so there's definitely, I discovered a market for it. I had a hunch that there was, but discovered this demand, and have continued to sort of grow it from there, following up on leads and opportunities as they come up.
Yeah.
And continually trying to find a way to come direct to consumer,
yeah.
which finally, 10 weeks ago,
I know, that's exciting.
We've had this huge breakthrough in terms of having the space for
yeah. So that's the amazing part of the process, So what would you say in regards to, how you made it happen on a funding level to take it to the next level, to go from commissary to, securing your own space?
Right. Oh my gosh. Like I said, we were really lucky because I knew it was a good opportunity when it came up to move into this, or basically take over this space, because I had been for the last 3 years looking at different properties, working with brokers and seeing just what's available on the market.
Not a lot.
It's really not a lot, especially second generation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, would you believe it if I told you that we put in $20,000 to be able to open?
Wow.
Because everything was in place and we already had it all working for us. And so, we got a couple new pieces of equipment. We put in a fence around the yard. We basically, me and my family, we painted
wow,
and
that's awesome.
Made some cosmetic updates to it. But I don't think that that's necessarily going to be instructive for other people, besides just letting people know to keep their eyes peeled for the diamond in the rough.
I think that's the larger lesson that I hear. And I mean, a lot of times people want to get wrapped up into the strategy of, here's your funding solution, here's your da-da-da, and they're not necessarily addressing the larger mindset, quote unquote luck, opportunity meets preparation, and keeping your eyes open and being in that space of flow,
right.
and that's when you're in that space, that's where opportunity shows up. That's where you get a call for 600 people, and you find yourself in situations and spaces literally that opened up for you.
Right.
So that's super exciting. That's an amazing part of your story that I'm excited to share and have other people know that it's not it's not quote unquote luck. It really is staying committed to being open and relating to yourself in that way.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes too is, with commitment comes magic and power. Because I've been all in on this for 3 years.
Yeah.
And literally in 2015 when I started, and I felt like I was it was not all just smooth sailing. Like,
Oh,
I've
yeah,
had
for
a
sure.
ton of uphill to do.
Yeah.
In terms of, like, my frequently asked question, number one is, what is a bento? So I've had a ton of,
education.
like,
For sure.
education
I had to be
do.
educated.
Yeah.
Confession.
And especially because, like, even folks who are familiar with bento assume that it's going to be sushi. But we offer a home-style bento. Like, our number one bestseller is chicken and rice. But we do it in a bento-style format, as I mentioned, with these 5 colors, 5 tastes, and 5 cooking technique.
Oh, okay.
And so it's something that is, even though it is really familiar in a way, the chicken and rice dish, for example, if you're trying to sell someone chicken and rice, but it's called a chicken rice bento,
that
can throw them off.
Yeah.
You know? And
so you're blazing the trail.
Yeah.
Blazing the trail.
Yeah, and I participated in a Food and City challenge. The Food and City, it's a held at UT every year. It's a prize competition with, real prize money associated with it. I didn't win any prize money, but I did get a lot of counseling and mentorship from the folks who are basically the judges of the competition. And at that time, it's all around giving your investor pitch. And like, at the time, I had just gotten my sales pitch down, and it's completely different from an investor pitch.
Yeah.
And I just had so much learning to do in terms of the business of being in food, in the food industry. And one of the pieces of advice that I was given at that time was, if you have a product that is untraditional in the way that mine is, as I was describing, because no one's really doing home-style bento in Austin, then it's going to be really hard to come to market in an untraditional way. So, for example, if I was going to try to do a CSA, where people could come pick up a week's worth of bento from different spots around town, or if I was going to just do kiosks where I could vend them and, offices around town. These are sort of untraditional ways of coming to market. With an untraditional product, the advice I was given is that's going to be really hard.
Yeah.
So I found that to be true in that it's been so much easier. There's been so much more flow, so much more traction in the last 10 weeks than there has been in the last 3 years.
Oh, nice.
Because I finally have, like, a traditional way of coming to market, and people get it.
Yes.
Like, I can go to this place, I can order at the counter, and I can get some food.
Yeah.
Like, that makes
Simplify.
sense.
Keeping it simple. The KISS principle, right? Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
Well, what stands out for you? I know you kind of in the beginning, but you're not necessarily in the beginning. Like, this has been a journey. What stands out for you as a WTF moment? What the food?
Yeah.
Keep it clean. Where you found yourself maybe up against a wall where, maybe a crossroads, or is there anything that comes up for you where you found yourself in that space of having to push through?
Yeah, absolutely. Probably too many.
Yeah. You're like, which one? Daily? Today? Yesterday? Yeah.
Oh. Well, okay, so we have a rather complicated menu.
Okay.
Because of the 5 colors, 5 tastes, and 5 cooking techniques that go into every plate. I can't just, like, drop a fry basket and toss it on a plate.
Yeah.
So there's that aspect of our menu that, even though it's simple and it's made to be really easy to, like, get to the customer in 5 minutes, we have to have a lot of prep done in order for that to come together really quickly.
Right.
And so we work with a ton of, like, fresh perishable ingredients, right? So it's definitely, like, I've needed to create systems along the way that prevent what could be, like, a ton of food waste if we over prep.
Yeah.
Or just, like, really, like, being SOL because we didn't prep enough, and now it's going to take an hour in order to get enough rice etc. ready for that next order.
Yeah.
And so it's been sort of a process, but I've developed a elaborate Excel spreadsheet. I'm an Excel spreadsheet junkie.
Okay, yeah, it's important. It's important.
And what it requires is basically taking an inventory of everything that we have on hand at the end of each day, and then having the formulas in the Excel spit out and let us know based on how many bento we're expecting to be ordered or to produce that morning that we need to make up the difference.
Okay, good.
But as you can imagine, like, there were moments between having that system in place and really needing that system.
So constantly learning, constantly evolving, constantly changing. And I think that's one component of business in general.
Yeah.
Because markets change, diets change, like all the things change. So to stay, kind of true to your brand, but then also stay relevant and, profitable.
Yes.
It's a lot. It's a lot for sure. So, I mean, I commend you for making it this far, and I'm really look forward to what's next on the horizon, and that kind of leads me to my next thing. Tell us what's next, or what you see, envision for yourself, and what that looks like, the next step.
Yeah. Well, we're just really drilling down and making sure that we have a smooth operation here that can be replicated. It's something that I'm really interested in, is how we can bring this food that's really good for folks and good for the environment and like make it accessible for more people.
Right.
And so it's something that I'm the sole owner of this company right now, and I know that there's a lot of opportunity out there to perhaps grow and scale, and I'm trying to figure out how to do that without necessarily cloning myself.
Right.
That's a big question mark for me. And so, for example, like, you were asking, like, what's your funding structure? Like, because I've sort of bootstrapped,
funded along the way.
That I haven't had to figure that out yet. I haven't ever had to do a build out of a kitchen. Like, those are all skills that I'm either going to have to learn or find someone to work with on in order to really scale the company.
Right.
And there are opportunities to grow to new locations that I'm considering, like, well, on what time frame and at what pace should we be pursuing that, because there's also, I know it's in your part of your story is, like, don't necessarily feel like you have to grow just because like I love this little 1920s bungalow where we
adorable.
get to serve people bento from and like I want to be able to enjoy where we're at and savor it. And then really once, I'm never always 100% ready for the next step, but at least feel like there's enough stars aligned and luck involved that it's the right time to grow.
Right.
So we're in
and
that
I
place.
think that's an important lesson too, to just make the most out of where you're at, and I think a lot of people can get into that space of, got to grow, expand, do this, and this.
Right.
And it could be just as rewarding for you personally, like, because on your life, to, be focused here and know that this is, I always tell people whenever I'm consulting with them on how to take, if they're looking at additional location, to say that you could be on permanent vacation from this this one spot. When you're ready to walk away from your one location and know that it's being run, then that's when you're ready. And if someone has to be in 24/7, then it's not the right time, or it's going to create more stress, and if they're ready to take that on, then that's their choice as well. So I mean, that's what I didn't necessarily have 20 locations, but going from 1 to 2 to 3, that's what I learned was like really being stretched really, really thinly, and it was a lot, with babies and general managers and assistant managers, and everybody's having babies. And I remember one time, like we were having a baby and building out a restaurant. We had one restaurant. We were building out. We had 2 restaurants actually. And we were building out a third. Yeah. And we had 2 kids at the time. Our baby had just been born, maybe a month old.
Wow.
Our daughter was a month old. She's now 8.5. And she, my general manager of one of my restaurants, also his wife was pregnant, and they were about to have a baby. So he went out, she went to labor, he went out, he was out for maybe a week. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait till blah, blah, blah comes back. I was building out. I was the the general contractor of the third spot, the GM of the first, the other spot, and then covering his stuff, right? And the day before he was supposed to come back, he texted me that he was checking himself into rehab.
Oh my gosh! What did you do?
I was like, all right, now what? You know what I mean? And we just rolled with it, and it was all good, and I'm happy for him, and he went and did what he needed to do, because I had no clue, so that's the other thing, not to get on a big tangent about my thing, but there's a lot what comes with the expansion and stuff that I think that what I like about your business and the example that you've set so far is staying in that space of not pushing and not super drive and super force, you know what I mean? And that's one thing that I'm taking into my business now, and through training development and event production and all these things, just really
it's a dance,
doing something that works. And we're not gonna force everything, and it's just cool, just be cool, man. It's the Austin way too.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to share your story. It's great to get to know more of it, and I know for our friends listening, I'm sure they got some great nuggets out of that. And tell us again, you're in Austin, Chavez. What's your address again?
2600 East Cesar Chavez.
Okay.
And it's bentopicnic.com, so you can order online too.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. All right, Leanne Valenti, thank you so much, and best of luck to you.
Thank you, Casey.
Bye.
Thank you for listening in to this week's episode of the Brick and Butter Zone. If you haven't already, go on over to brickandbutter.com, download your free mindset reset affirmations, and most importantly, feed your face, spread the love, and stay in the zone.